In today's video, we're diving to a galaxy far, far away to explore the political landscape of Star Wars. Have you ever wondered where the Galactic Empire, the Rebel Alliance, and other iconic factions would fall on the political compass? We'll break down their ideologies and actions to see if they're authoritarian, libertarian, left, or right. As to what this compass means, essentially, the left-to-right axis denotes economic policy. So, an example of the extreme left would be communism, where the people control all aspects of the economy. While the extreme right would be a corporatocracy, where corporations are able to do anything they want. The authoritarian-libertarian axis denotes how much authority the government exercises. An example of an extreme authoritarian would be the Soviet Union, while an example of an extreme libertarian would be anarchism. Galactic Republic. The Galactic Republic was ruled by a representative democracy, which means that all planets within the Republic sent senators to the Galactic Senate to represent them. Among these senators, a head of state would be elected chancellor, which would carry the title of president and head of state as well. Despite having a head of state, the Republic for most of its history was seen as a sort of confederation of independent systems, so more like the EU and less like the USA. But this shifted towards the end of the Republic, with Palpatine centralizing the state. Economically, the Republic was a market economy that relied heavily on intergalactic trade. This, however, has its drawbacks, as large corporations and trading guilds often had great influence on the politicians within the Senate. The Republic did set taxes on trade, but they weren't significantly high. Overall, the Galactic Republic would likely be on the economically right-wing end of the compass, as they were lighter on regulation as it was the source of their wealth. As for the authoritarian axis, they would be a bit on the authoritarian side, especially after the Clone Wars. This would be their final spot. Ideologically, they would be similar to the USA and would be close to both Democratic and Republican parties. Confederacy of Independent Systems. The Confederacy was theoretically ruled by a similar structure to the Republic, but this was a farce. Most of the Confederacy's true power was held by the head of state, Count Dooku, and below him was General Grievous, who was the leader of the droid armies, and beneath him were the corporate backers who funded the government's droid army. Count Dooku regularly disregarded smaller planets' rights and often bullied systems into joining the Confederacy. This is a far cry from the idealistic vision for the Confederacy. More optimistic backers of the Confederate government joined it due to the lack of trade freedom and military support from the Republic. In the end, they did get both from the Separatists, but a bastardized version of what they wanted. Instead of a military that defended them, they ended up with one that tyrannized them. Instead of an economy that served their planet's interest, they got one that served business interests. The idealistic version of the Confederacy would be placed on the libertarian axis, as one of the key grievances of the Separatists was excessive government control. They would also be a bit more capitalist than the Republic. A good example would be the current president of Argentina, who in support of libertarian principles has cut many supposedly bloated government expenses and has let free trade reign. But in practice, the Separatists would be far more authoritarian with Dooku's tight grip on the government and also far more capitalist because of the corporate and guilds' influence. The Confederacy would be ideologically similar to modern-day Russia. Galactic Empire. The Galactic Empire was formed out of the corpse of the old Republic. Power was held nearly exclusively by the Emperor. They did have a legislative branch for most of their history, but it was purely advisory. The Imperial military held far more power than any civilian authority under the Empire. Towards the end of their rule, the Senate was abolished and was succeeded by a military council, effectively ending any semblance of civilian rule. Though they were extremely authoritarian, Rulers that were loyal to the empire were granted a degree of control over their sectors as long as they kept their subjects under control. A good example would be the working relationship between a key enforcer of the empire, Darth Vader, and the de facto ruler of Tatooine, Jabba the Hutt. Economically, the empire was far more restrictive than their predecessor. Key industries like weapons manufacturing were being taken over by the government in a process called imperialization. Benito Mussolini's Italy took similar steps through the creation of the Institute for Industrial Reconstruction, which controlled many important sectors of the Italian economy. This is a good quote which personifies the state of the imperial economy. A nation organized similar to the human body, with each organ performing its individual function, but working in harmony with the whole. The Galactic Empire would be far above its predecessor in the authoritarian axis, as they had control over most aspects of daily life, especially in the core. However, I would argue that they are situated towards the economic left, as they exercise their governmental powers to reign in corporations and key sectors of the economy. The New Republic. The New Republic would nominally have a chancellor, but they would have very little power. Instead, power would be held by the Senate, which may sound good, but it caused big problems. One was that it never got anything done. Due to the lack of a real executive branch, the government simply quarreled and argued too much to agree on much, leading to an ineffective and chaotic form of governance. To be honest, it's very difficult to see where they lie on the compass, simply because they were so incompetent in governing. But I would reckon they would place somewhere on the libertarian end, because of their belief in the freedom of the individual planets. Economically, they would be near the center, as they surely would have reversed the imperialization policy towards most corporations. But trading guilds and corporations would have held the same power as they did during the Old Republic. Modern-day Germany is strikingly similar to the New Republic, with their pacifism and parliamentary form of governance. Let me know which galactic government you believe worked the best. This is Entertainment Crew signing out.